particularly numbers 1 and 2. On the last quiz, there was a question like this, and way too many kids were getting it wrong. So I said to myself, we need to go over this better. I thought I taught them how to do well with this question, but they're apparently not getting it. So I thought I did a really good job teaching it. Apparently that's not true, because most of the class, well, about half the class, missed these questions. And I would have thought everybody would get number 1 right, and most people I thought would get number 2 right. So let's go through the entire quiz. You know you got 2 more turns of the quiz coming, and I want to make sure that you understand. Christian, if I remember right, you didn't even answer 1 and 2. So what that means is what I think is true of some of the kids in the room. I think you don't understand what it's asking you to do. And we want to make sure that we get that down pat. So I was careful to show all of my work with this. Now, f of x equals 2x plus 3 is what we call a function. Functions have input and output. I'm saying to you, the function's rule is f of x is 2x plus 3. I might as well say y is 2x plus 3. And then I'm saying find f of 11. That's saying if the input is 11, what's the output? So what I do is I just take the input and I put it in for x. You see, this x stands for any old input. This means, Rach, no matter what input I give you, you take 2 times that input and add 3. So I know I say f of x equals 2x plus 3. But what I really mean is this. F takes the input, multiplies the input by 2, and then adds 3. So now, if I give it an 11, that means 2 times 11 plus 3. What's 2 times 11? 22. Plus 3? 25. So the answer to the first one is 25. Now the next one, I changed the name of the function. I call it g. If g of x is x squared, now what does it mean to square something? What does it mean to square something? What's 5 squared mean? Not multiply by 2, multiply by itself. So if I say 5 squared, that means 5 times 5. If I say 10 squared, what does that mean? 10 times 10. If I say 4 squared, what's that? Well, now I'm plugging in a -3 for the input, so that means -3 times -3. And I think some people did realize that and multiplied wrong. -3 times -3 is +9. Remember, when I multiply by a negative, I change that first sign. It becomes a +9. Right? All right. So that's really 3 things are being done there. Order of operations, multiplying positives and negatives, and also function theory itself in terms of input and output. Number 3, which below is not a function? The one that's not a function is choice B, because it fails the vertical line test. It touches twice. You only have to touch twice in one place. You don't have to touch twice in all the places. As long as you touch twice in one place or more, then it's not a function. Okay? All these other ones, and I draw a vertical line, it only touches in one place on any place under that. So B is the one that's not a function. And as far as number 4 goes, this gets at a question we had on the recent quiz, where we said something like, I don't know, it was multiple choice, and it said something like 3 squared times 3 to the 7th, and a lot of people put the answer 9 to the 9th. And that's not so. When we multiply, look, early in the year we taught you this rule. X to the 2nd times x to the 3rd. What does that equal? X to the 5th. Add exponents. Most people knew to add the exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. But the base stays the same. So here, the base has to stay the same. It's 5 all the way across. 3 plus 4 is 7. Some people put 5 to the 12th, and some people put 25 to the 7th. No, it's not 25, it's 5. Question, Chris? Not now, no. Any other question about these? Now, let's take a look at today's do it. Oh, I don't need this. I'm wondering again why people are coming up asking to go to the bathroom or to get a drink when you just had a lunch period where you sat in there for 42 minutes. And in the course of those 42 minutes, you couldn't go outside. I kind of get it if you go outside and you run around and then at the last minute you realize you gotta go to the bathroom. I kind of understand that. Or if you're running around and you get thirsty. But I don't understand it when you're sitting in the cafeteria. So if we get a chance in a little bit, Chris, I'll let you go then. But in the meanwhile, you guys are getting to the point where, like I like to say, if your parents are taking a road trip and it's gonna be a long drive, what do they always tell you? Go to the bathroom before we leave. Right? I don't wanna be stopping in the middle of the trip. Okay, Falcundra is 2 times 10 to the 8th miles from the sun, while Perelandra is 8.05 times 10 to the 15th miles from the sun. About how many times further from the sun is Perelandra? Well, remember how I said that if we're doing these questions and we see scientific notation, get rid of those? If one is 2 miles from the sun, the other is 8 miles from the sun, how many times further is Perelandra from the sun? 4 times bigger, right? So, and if I do 8 divided by 2, I get 4, don't I? Right. So I'm going to do 8.05 times 10 to the, what does that say under there, 15?
Yeah.
15 over 2 times 10 to the, what does that say, 8 or 6? 8, I think?
8.
Okay. Now, look, it says about, keyword there, about. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, about. And then subtract exponents, times 10 to the 7. Okay. Next, they love questions like this. Which of the following is a solution to the inequality? Now, one way to do this is to plug the values in. The other is to solve the inequality. I'm going to solve the inequality. Minus 5 minus 5. Negative 3n is less than 6. Divide by negative 3. What do I have to do anytime I multiply or divide an inequality by a negative? Turn that sign. Good. Switch the sign. N is greater than negative 2. The only choice here that's greater than negative 2 is negative 1. A lot of people put negative 2 as the answer. It's not negative 2. It says n is greater than negative 2. Negative 2 is not greater than negative 2. It equals negative 2. Therefore, it doesn't work. Watch, I can even plug in the negative 2 and check it, just like with functions before. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. Is 11 less than 11? No. The only one that'll work is negative 1. Okay, next up. In the function y equals negative 2/3 x minus 5. What's the output if the input is 6? This is just like what we did a minute ago, Christian, except instead of saying f of x equals, saying y equals. So the input is 6. So negative 2/3 times 6. 3 goes into 6 twice. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 minus 5. And that is negative 9. Okay? All right. Write a function rule for the tables below. Now, we did a lot of this work with function rules yesterday. And we said it's all based on this idea, y equals mx plus b. What does b stand for again, everybody? The y-intercept. How do you find the y-intercept? Pairs, it is on the y-axis, and what's the x value for any number on the y-axis? 0, good. So it pairs up with 0. There's my y-intercept there. This one doesn't have one. We're going to have to figure that out. Okay, next. Is this going up or down? Figure that out first. Down. What sign do you think we use to indicate down? Negative, good. What's it going down by? Negative 2, good. What's this one going by? 1. So this would be y equals negative 2 over 1, or just negative 2, x plus 3. Now, that rule works for any input. I'll show you what I mean. Let's plug in a 3. What's negative 2 times 3? Negative 6. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. So I just confirmed that it works for this one. It works for all of them. So now let's plug in a 10. What's negative 2 times 10? Negative 20. What's negative 20 plus 3? Negative, no, not negative 23. Negative 17. Negative 20 minus 3 is negative 23. Okay? Now there's another way you could do it. You could just keep going down by 3s until you hit 10. So 4 would be negative 6, 5 would be negative 9, 6 would be negative 12, 7, and so on and so forth, until, I'm sorry, go down by 2s. 4 would be negative 5, 5 would be negative 7, 6 would be negative 9, and just keep going down until you hit the 10th one, and that would be negative 17. Okay, let's try this one. First off, oh, I can't even tell the y-intercept yet. How come I can't tell the y-intercept? It's missing 0. Anybody think of a way that we could possibly figure out what goes with 0? I think there's a way, is there?
Subtracting 30, I mean 62 to 40.
Well, if I count, let's try to hit. What's changing here? What am I going up by? 22. So doesn't it make sense that this guy's going up by what? 2. So if I go down 2 from 2, what do I end up with? So then if I go down 22 from 40, what do I end up with? 18, right? So then the 0 would pair up with the 18. So I can actually extend the table to get to 0. So this would become y equals, I know I'm going to get plus 18 at the end. I know an x goes there. But if I do change in y over change in x, I get 22 over 2. And what does that reduce to? 11. So it's y equals 11x plus 18. And this right here, guys, this was yesterday's lesson. Trying to learn how to write function rules. The last thing we need to do is fill in the value here. Why don't you do that right now? Plug in the 10 into the equation and see what you come up with. Okay, what's 10 times 11? What is 10 times 11, guys? 110. Plus 18, what's 110 plus 18? 128. Good. All right, you saw what today's quiz looked like. And obviously tomorrow's and the next days will look just like it. What's the big thing that you noticed on that quiz with numbers 1 and 2? What do you want to make sure you do? You want to plug it in, right? And just do the calculation. Number 3 is the vertical line test. Number 4, do not change the base. And then we talked about writing equations. So this is what we're going to do. I am going to put you into white groups, and I want you to do these 3 values here. White groups, do those 3. It should take you no more than about 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Me, you, Diana.
Anything.
White groups. Guys, you got no more than 5 minutes to get this done. Let's go. And I'm going to drink this whole one myself. Yeah, because I got to get... Let's go. 4.5 minutes. Come on, find those 3 function rules. Talk to each other. Under 2 minutes. About 45 seconds, maybe a minute at most. Yeah. Okay, back to your seats. Sorry. Okay. Here we go. Ready? So these are all linear functions. What does this word linear mean? Makes a what? Makes a line. Very good. It also means that it has a constant slope, which is also known as a constant rate of change, which means everything goes up or down by the same amount every single time, the same ratio. So, first off, what am I going up by here? 9. What am I going up by here? 3. So my slope is what? It is 3. Good. It's 9 over 3, which is 3. Remember, change in y over change in x. So that would mean y equals 3x plus 4. Y equals 3x plus 4. Can I, by show of hands, see how many people got that right? Okay, vast majority, just about everybody. Good. Let's take a look at the next one. Oh boy. See the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
No zero.
No 0, so I got to figure that out. Time to put the old elementary school thinking cap on. Oh.
Zero equals zero.
This is gross.
Zero equals zero.
Let's see. What am I going up by here? 30. What am I going up by here? 10. So what's my rate of change? 30 over 10, which is what? 3 or 3 over 1. So that means every time I go down 1 here, I got to go down 3 here. So let's make this 1. I got to go down 3. That's 15. Then I go down another one, 0. That's 12. So I was able to figure out, after all, what it was. So this, we said this is 3, so it's y equals 3x plus 12. And last but not least, is this guy going up or down? Up. Very good, it is going up. What am I going up by? 2, good. Is this guy going up or down? Up or down? Up. So if this is going up, it's going up by 1. So what's the rate of change or the slope? 2 over 1, good. So I get y equals 2 or 2 over 1x, and then what pairs up with 0? Negative 6. Good. Now let's go back and fill the bottom boxes in. I do that by plugging in the number like we did on today's quiz. What's 3 times 21 plus 4? What's 3 times 21? You would have to add again and again and again and again and again to get all the way to 21. What's 3 times 21? 63. Plus 4? 67. Nice. Let's go here. Plug into 42. What's 3 times 42? 126. Plus 12. 138. Over here, let's plug in a 9. What's 2 times 9? 18. Take away 6. 12. Excellent. Very good. Okay. Now, one last question to do. We're going to graph a different kind of shape. Y equals negative x squared plus 4. And what I'm going to do is do these calculations. This is very weird because I have to square it before I negate it. It would be really good, Spencer, if you're paying attention here. I have to square it before I negate it. Girls? Negative 3 squared, we just did that on the quiz, is 9. Then I negate it, I get negative 9 plus 4, negative 5. Plug in a negative 2, squared is 4. Negate it, negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Negative 1 squared is 1, minus 1 plus 4 is 3. But I love 0. I love 0. What's 0 squared? 0. What's negative 0? 0. Plus 4? 4. 1 squared is 1, negating negative 1, plus 4 is 3. That's weird. Plug in a 2. 2 squared is 4, negative 4. Very strange. 3 squared is 9, negative 9. Negative. Hey, that's kind of weird. You ever see that before? I'll tell you one thing, this is not. This is not linear. It's definitely not linear. Let's plot the points. Negative 3, 2, 4, negative 5. Negative 2, 0. Negative 1, 3. 0, 4. 1, 3. Here. And then here. Stop. What's the y-intercept? 4. Y-intercept is wherever it touches the y-axis. So it says, what is the y-intercept for? And then it says, what shape is this? This is a brand new shape. Is it pretty obvious to every person in the room that this is not linear? Is that pretty obvious? There's actually a word in math for not linear. It's called non-linear. Non means not. Linear line, right? It's not a line. This shape is actually called a parabola. Okay? A parabola. Yep, it's called a parabola. Now here's the deal, you ready? Whenever the highest exponent is a 2, you see how I circled that? Whenever that exponent is a 2, it's a parabola. Whenever you see something about x squared in there, and that's the highest term, in this course I think that's the highest you'll ever see, is a parabola. Now what's the next question underneath there? Oh, linear function makes a straight line, good. What are the x-intercepts? If the y-intercept is where it touches the y-axis, the x-intercepts are where it touches the x-axis. What are the values here? Negative 2 and 2. There's actually 2 of them. And I got to tell you, it's not always the case, but it's usually the case with a quadratic that there's 2. Next, what is the maximum value of the range? The range is the y's. Right? X is domain, Y is range. What's the biggest value on the range? No. 4. Biggest value is 4. Okay? And do you think there is a minimum value? Do you think that there's a lowest number you'll ever find? No, because the arrows on the end says it keeps going forever and ever. Okay. You may now, we have, I guess, about 4 minutes left. You may now begin your homework. Work that out. We're going to keep right on going with functions over the next couple of days, and then also into geometry to follow.
Geometry. Ooh.
Yeah.
Geometry dash? Nope.